the science of it shows, if you look at Seligman's book called Flourish, where he took 400 clinically depressed patients, 200 they put on medication, and 200 they did exercises with. And gratitude was one of the main things. And gratitude plus a couple of other things, they were better off from a mental wellness perspective than those that took medication. So that gratitude piece is scientifically proven, because it's not, you think, because say for instance, I'm thanking you, Gresh, for being on the show and for having me. You'd think it's a big benefit to you, but chemically, what they've seen and psychologically, the person saying thank you is getting more out of it than the person that you're thanking.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so powerful that I think so many times too, we forget that the best and most powerful thing you could do is not sometimes giving people the opportunity to give as well too. So I think it just creates such a strong environment when you're able to kind of be in that way where the giver and the thinker and so far. And so we end up being in the same place because we're both, getting that opportunity to kind of have that win-win situation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So would you consider that to be what I like to call a CEO nugget, a little bit more word of wisdom or piece of advice? It might be something you would tell your favorite business client, or you happen to do a time machine, you might tell your young business self.
Yes. I think it's one of the most powerful forces in a culture. And we have our company-wide meetings, whether it be regional or the whole company. And we had a section which is called Wow Moments, where you would basically just recognize something someone did. And one of the team, we also have a section in our meeting where you can ask an anonymous question, and you have to, and someone from the leadership team has to answer it in the company-wide meeting very openly and transparently. And someone submitted saying, the wow moments have lost their impact. How do we change it? And one of our team members, his name is Nsika Zulu, and he went away and did some research, and he came back and he revised the way we show gratitude in publicly. And he broke it down into two categories. We kept the wow moments, but he came up with a new category, which is called Sawubona. So Sawubona in Zulu means I see you. And it's and I can tell you now, I literally looked at, because we run our staff satisfaction survey every 6 months. After he implemented that, literally you saw the gratitude just peak. It reached its highest level ever in the business. And yeah, I think there's a balance. Some people don't like to be thanked publicly, and be aware of that. I think that's the minority. But we have a culture where where people are winning and we want to thank people. We try and do it as often as publicly and as authentically as possible, because I think if it becomes too flippant and superficial, then it will lose its value. But I definitely think it's a huge untapped force in a culture that can be leveraged so easily.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I see you and just kind of understand that, because I feel like that, is rooted in a strong human need for appreciation, to be seen, to be valued. Like you said, it may not necessarily be, shouted from the rooftops, but at the same time, you still want to be valued and appreciated and seen for the things that you're good at. So I absolutely appreciate that. And now I want to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. We're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So Orrin, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, it comes with a huge sense of accountability. I look at some of the tough decisions that I've had to make, and sometimes, Gresh, that has meant actually letting people go because of the macroeconomic or business challenges that we're facing. And when you look at the people first orientation of our culture, you could say, well, how can letting people go fit with that? And it's really, as leaders, we need to balance the livelihood and the likelihood of the survival of the business. So it definitely makes me unbelievably accountable. And the one concept, you know, that we try to live, and I try to live as a CEO, but I don't always get it right, is the in the mirror and out the window leadership. You know, when things are tough, when we're getting it wrong, look in the mirror and hold yourself as the CEO accountable. And when things are going really well, find someone to really recognize and give credit. And I think finally, what does it mean to me to be a CEO? It feels like a massive honor and a privilege. Just the hugest honor and privilege. And particularly when I look at how our leadership team supports me in my role. You know, maybe one last story just to conclude this point. When I was in the early days of the business, we had no money, and we would pay, you know, so typically in South Africa, you pay salaries once a month. We would phone you before payday and say, listen, things are tight. Can we pay half your salary now and half 2 weeks later? And, you know, so we were in a constant phase of this paranoia in the beginning. And when I used to walk past our meeting room and there was a meeting and I wasn't in it and I didn't know about it, I would like lose my shit. And I would get upset and like, why is there a meeting? Now, you know, we're over 300 people. The more meetings I'm not in, the better. And from a CEO perspective, the way we've achieved that is just giving people all the knowledge and information about the business to empower them and decentralize the thinking. Let them make the decisions, let them make the mistakes, let them celebrate the wins. So that has been that's a big part of the accountability, but it's a big part of what has enabled us to grow, is that I'm involved in much less than I ever was before, and it keeps me balanced and sane.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that story. And I think, you know, you can definitely hear as well too the journey and the growth and all those things that have happened. And even the perspective on, you know, being a CEO means in being every meeting, having your hands on everything versus being able to kind of empower the people, and how that growth has happened. And it kind of sounds like it's been hand in hand with the strength of the culture, the strength of the amount of people, and the success that you all are having. So I think it's such a great reminder, and I love that accountability, the value, and all the things you've been able to do, and kind of see that grow to fruition throughout the organization.
Yeah, thanks, Krish.
Absolutely. Well, Orrin, truly appreciate that definition. Of course, I appreciate your time even more. So what I want to do now is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional that you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best people can get hold of you, find about all the awesome things you and your team are working on.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Gresh. Look, if you are a business in the range of sort of 25 to 1,000 user environments, you have predominantly a Microsoft technology stack, and you're grappling with how you make the most of what you've invested in already, we offer a free Innovate business automation assessment. You can text me on my mobile. I love responding. I'm very responsive. So you can text me on 917-517-7763, and just include Innovate business automation in that text, Innovate business automation. So I'll just read that, 917-517-7763. And yeah, just feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Yeah, Gresh, really appreciate the opportunity of having me on your show today.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely appreciate you for, you know, your time and all the awesome things that you're doing. Of course, we're going to have the links and information in the show notes as well too, so that everybody can follow up with you, text you, you know, find out about all those awesome things. But, you know, just like I said in the beginning, a lot of times we have our zone of genius, our expertise, and you start to realize that our zone of genius and expertise and it isn't all the things. Even if you can do quote unquote all the things, you don't want to do that. That's why you want to lean on the expertise of, you know, organizations like yours and what you've been able to do, as you've seen within the organization, of course, you know, outside of it. So thank you so much for reminding us of that, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
You too. Absolute pleasure, Gresh.